We are officially at 16. Let me up, if my foot is caught. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, hello everyone. Observers, I'm just going to go through how what's happening to our panelists so we know what's going on. If you want to listen in, you're more than welcome to, because I will speak about the opportunities that you have to speak at this time. But if you want to go out, grab a water, go and pee, have a smoke, vape, whatever, you can do that at a time. Observers, panelists, listen to my words. Anyway, so hello, my name is Ashley Storr-Smith. I am my pronouns are they them, and I am the student voice manager here at the University of Nottingham Students' Union. I'm a paid staff member. I didn't study here. I am just here to help make sure this process goes. I am the chair of Union Council today, so basically I'm going to make sure that everything runs smoothly and will be kind of dictating the process to everyone. So that's what I do. You today are panelists, so you are 16 randomly picked students to vote on issues that are being raised by students. So that is done in the form of a motion, which we'll be getting on the screen in a second for you to read through, as well as some of you have already been sent those in advance. They are also on our website, so if you want to just go on our website to the news section, you can get them up on your phone as well, if that is easier for you when it comes to screen reading or anything like that. Basically, what you'll be doing today, we'll be voting on if we should be doing that thing, so passing that motion, we should be doing that thing, following the motion, or that it should go to referenda, which means every student gets to have a vote on it, okay? Once that has happened, if something gets passed, or it goes to referenda and then passes when we do the referendum later on, it then becomes something called union policy, which means the union has to do it. No matter what, we have to make sure it happens in some form or another, okay? So it's really important for you to give your thoughts and opinions based on your voting, and to listen to the people who will be speaking today about that. The process will be as follows. We will have the proposer, which is the person who has put the motion forward, speak about it, give them a few minutes. Then you have the opportunity to ask any questions as panelists. Then observers will have the opportunity to ask any questions, so clarifications. You're not sure, there's an acronym there you're not sure of, or you're not sure what they meant. You can ask any question you can. And then we go to debates. So only observers can debate, so you can't debate for or against because you're here to vote. But observers should be able to debate. We will officially take the against debate first, so if you're going no on the motion, because technically the proposer is the first for debate, if that makes sense. Okay? People who are speaking, observers, you will have 2 minutes. That is a flexible 2 minutes. I will stop you at 3, and we'll just keep saying things into the mic until you stop. So please do keep it as succinct as possible when speaking. When I say I will give you the 2-minute warning, which will give you 6 seconds to round it all up. If you don't round up by 3 minutes, I will stop you. This is so we can get as many people speaking as possible. And then at that point, you can also ask any clarification questions at this time. So just at any point, you can put your hand up and ask a clarification question, or you're not sure, things like that. Observers have priority on questions, so if you put your hand up after someone behind you puts your hand up, your question will go first. I'm not being rude, these are the people voting, that's part of our Union Council process, okay? And then you'll go to vote, and once the voting is finished, you will then, we will then count it up, we'll move on to the next one, and then I'll give you the result of the last one afterwards, okay? So, has anyone got the ballot papers? Ballots, could you give me one of each, please? So, we're going to have 2 very different motions come through today with 2 different voting styles. which makes it rather difficult for you to understand what's going on, but I will try and lead you through it. If you have any questions about the voting process or anything, please either grab attention myself, or any of our ballot bosses today. So Hannah is one of yours, and Becca, give us a wave. Person at the back in the grey jumper, if you have any questions about how to vote, what a vote means, those two will be able to help you kind of clarify that when you're doing your voting. So, the first motion we'll be doing is around ratification of student trustees. So, as you can see, 45201. Basically, for that one, it's a ratification. So what that means is, if you're happy, don't put your hand up. If you're unhappy, put your hand up. So I'll go, is anyone unhappy? Does anyone not want to ratify this? Put your hand up, okay? That's the first one. The second one is something called a motion to referenda. So what this person's trying to do is to get students to have a vote on something. So you're not voting on if this should happen, you're voting on if it should be a referenda or not. And then you'll get one of these ballot papers, and you'll mark yes if you think students should get a vote on this, so every student, and no if you don't think a student should get a vote on this, okay? So that's number 2. Then number 3 is the traditional one. So this motion, what you'll do is you'll vote yes if you want it to happen, or you think it should happen, no if you think it shouldn't happen, and then abstain either means you don't know or you think it should go to referendum. Okay? So 3 very different voting styles. I'm very sorry that I had all 3 in one go. It makes it very difficult. But what I'll do is after every debate, I'll do a very similar kind of discussion we just had, just to remind you of everything, okay? And as I say, if you have any questions or you're not sure, please ask. If you are not sure at all or you want to ask any questions, please ask. That's what you're here to do, is ask questions, clarifications, anything on the motion from the proposers, anything on the process to me. Any questions from any of you at the moment? Roughly know what's going on? Good. Amazing. Thank you. So, when it comes to voting, please just put a tick or an X in the box you want. Do not put a tick and a cross. Do not put something across 2 boxes. Don't tick one and then scrub it out and tick another. If you make a mistake, let us know and we'll give you a new ballot, okay? Because if we can't tell what you're voting for, then it's classed as a spoiled vote, which means your vote is not counted at all, okay? So just keep an eye on that. If you mess up, you're not sure, we will give you the ballots at the end of the debate, so you won't be able to vote until the debate is finished anyway. But if you mess up or you don't think it looks clear, grab either myself, Hannah, or Becca, and they'll be able to support you throughout the process. Okay? Thank you. It is now, oh wow, we're going to actually start on time. As a heads up, we have 2 hours for this process. This is more for everyone. Once the 2 hours is finished, Union Council will close at that point. So if a debate goes over 2 hours, the debate will then continue at the next Union Council. If we have more than 1 motion remaining, then we will have to run another council in 4 Union weeks, so around mid-Feb. Okay? So if we only have 1 remaining, it will go to the next Union Council. If we have more than 1 remaining, so we have both remaining, let's say we want to talk 2 hours about trustees, for example, we will then have to run another Union Council after exams. Okay? If I feel like, as the chair, people are just talking about the same points over and over again, I can stop the debate and then move to the vote. Okay? But hopefully everyone has lots of new and interesting ideas and we'll be able to hear all the fun and interesting stuff. Okay. Observers. Are there any questions for observers about what's going on? Okay. Final thing from ourselves is that this is an official Students' Union activity, so it comes under the Students' Union Code of Conduct as well as the University Student Code of Conduct. If at any point we feel like someone is breaking that Code of Conduct, they'll be asked to leave or we'll remove them. I do this briefing every time we do Union Council, so If you do feel like someone has broken that code of conduct, please either grab someone in a lanyard, you'll see the SU staff floating about, just grab them and they will let us know, okay? Okay, cool. What we'll do then, it is 6 o'clock. Because we have 2 hours, we're not going to start yet, I will give everyone a 5-minute chill. What we would suggest is if you only leave the room if you have to, so you need to go to the toilet, fill up a water bowl, go smoke. If you can stay in the room, please do stay in the room, just so that when it gets to the time, we can just start as quickly as possible. Union Council will open at 6:05. So 6:05 on everyone's watches. Observe, please sit where you sat before, so observers please sit in the same area. But we're going to just take 5 minutes after that briefing so we can just clear our heads, let all that just digest and mull in your brains, so we can start. Okay, so 6:05, please do not go far. We just need to do some final checks before we start. Okay? We will give it 30 seconds. 30 seconds, we will be starting. 30-second call. Okay, so just before we start, if you do want a more accessible version of the motions, they are on the Student Union website. Go onto the main page, scroll down to news, and it's the first news article on the website. So if you want to have it up on your phone, up on your laptop, rather than looking at the screen, especially people at the back that may find it a little bit difficult to see, or if you have you need a screen reader or any accessibility issues, please do that. Thank you also for getting very quiet very quickly. Thank you. Means I don't need a gavel. How fun. Anyway, good morning. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Student Council. My name is Ashley Smith. I am your chair this evening. This is all for minutes, by the way. My supporter today is Liam Hand, the Democracy and Governance Coordinator. Leading on ballots is Hannah and Becca, and there will be our first and second counters this evening. We will now start with motion 45201, student and lay trustee appointments. So, I'm going to be talking through this with you today. So, the trustee board is the highest board of the Students' Union. We're required to have one under Charity Commission rules and regulations because we are a registered charity. Due to our articles of association, we are required to have so many student trustees and so many lay trustees. Lay just being a fancy word for external trustees, so people who are not students or staff members or any relation to the University of Nottingham Students' Union directly. The trustees that have been appointed, the trustees that have been proposed for appointment, there are 2 student trustees and 1 lay trustee. Scroll down with me. So the 2 student trustees are Prathra Agrawal and Bradley Russell, and their supporting statements are at the bottom. So if you do want to go for the website, we will scroll down and show you those as well. And then Marie. Marie Reynolds is the lay trustee. They have been a non-executive director of UoNSU Services, which is the commercial arm of the Students' Union. So the place that is responsible for mooch and things like that, and then all that money goes back to the SU. So just as a background. If you want to scroll down to things, so the trustees have gone through their appointments process and have chosen these 3 people, these 2 student trustees and 1 lay trustee. I will give time for people to quickly read through. If you do want to bring it up on your phones, I would highly suggest. This is a lot of content. Yes. We will go through the traditional debate system, but it is ratification. So there will be no for or against speeches. There will just be general questions or just general comments. Are there any questions from panelists? So our people at the front. Can you hand up for any questions?
How do we access?
Oh, give us 1 second. We will get a microphone to you. If you can say your name before speaking, that'd be really helpful.
My name is Rosalind. I was just wondering how to access these introductions from the...
Yes, so if you go to the Students' Union website, which is su.nottingham.ac.uk, and then if you scroll down to news, it will be the first news article on the news section. So you can scroll down past varsity, past the Portland Coffee area.
It's actually not connected to Wi-Fi.
I know, I was going to say just on there, so I can explain through it, because I can't remember what the actual website looks like. It's been a while. So we can't get it up on here because we're not connected to Wi-Fi, but I will explain through. So main website, if you scroll down past Varsity Off, ice hockey, get your tickets. Scroll down and then you see latest news. It's the first one, Thursday the 7th of December, Emergency Union Council, Monday the 11th of December, and all the documents for everything is there. So all the motions for everything you'll be going through today. Is there any other questions from panelists? Panelists, if you do have any more questions at any point, you can put your hands up until we finish, so please do feel free. Any questions from observers about appointments of trustees, or the specific trustee appointments? I see no questions. Any comments from any observers? We won't be doing for or against, which the comments. I see that officer there.
This is a lot. Hi, I'm Jess, I'm the Union Development Officer. I just wanted to say if you need to access them as well, the motions are also linked in the link tree of the SU Instagram. It's just UoNSU on Instagram, and then a second link down on the Instagram if that's just easier for people to find as well.
Thank you.
How's the volume on that? Can everyone hear? Good.
Perfect. Any comments? Okay, final call for anything on this. Okay, so panelists at the front, what I'm going to ask you now is if you do not want to ratify this, so you disagree with who's been picked, I will ask you to put your hands up now. If you agree, just keep as you are. So does any panelist, are there any panelists who do not want to ratify these student and lay trustees? Okay, I see universal ratification. That has been closed and those trustees will be appointed and be attending the next trustee board, which I believe is this week. I think it's this week. Anyway. We will now be moving on to 452.02. Motion to vote of no confidence, VoNC or VoNC, River Butterworth Postgraduate Officer. So if I can have the motion proposer and seconders come up at the moment. Before they start, just a reminder, you will be voting on if you think this should go to a referenda. So a vote of no confidence is a different word for a referenda, but basically is if you are wanting, the vote would remove an officer if successful. So that's what a vote of no confidence is. It's a referenda, but on if the officer should stay in the role or not. Okay? Any questions on that from panelists? Perfect. I will now give... I think my phone's about to die. Yeah, hold on. I will now pass to... For the recording. Okay. I will now pass over to... Do you want to give them that one?
You keep the mic.
Just in case I need to interrupt if they go over. That's all. I will now give roughly 3 minutes.
Sorry, electric shock.
That's fine. I will give roughly 3 minutes to the motion proposer. And could you just state your name before you start for the minutes?
Of course, yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Gareth Holmes. Thank you all for coming here tonight and being involved in student union politics. The postgraduate community is a huge part of the University of Nottingham. According to the 2019-2020 student statistics, 26% of the student body are made up of postgraduate students. Many of the postgraduate students say they feel isolated at university, and many said they felt unsupported when they joined, unlike they did when they were a first-year graduate. We believe that the postgraduate officer should fulfil their role as laid out under Section 14 of the full-time officers' role section of the student union bylaws. We're highlighting these that they are politically responsible for representing students and liaising with the University of Nottingham and any external bodies on postgraduate issues. Be the point of contact for students, University of Nottingham and any external bodies in the area of postgraduate education. They are to defend and extend the rights of postgraduate students, and they are to campaign on issues of concern, interest and relevance to students within their constituency. We are bringing this motion before the Union Council because we believe this has not been taking place. It is a duty of the Students' Union and the student body to ensure that the postgraduate officer is held responsible for creating a safe environment for postgraduate students by organising events or making themselves available, which the current postgraduate officer has done insufficiently. With the current postgraduate officer has focused most of their time on students that do not fall under their remit and has ignored their responsibilities towards postgraduate students. It is the job of any student representative, including full-time officers, to use their power to best impact the lives of students, which has been done insufficiently. When on the Quality and Standards Committee, due to recurring non-attendance, new policies such as the alterations to the extenuating circumstances policy are put into place, which have caused a major concern within the student body. This is why we put before the Union Council there is a vote of no confidence, a referendum for the vote of no confidence in the current postgraduate officer. We are asking for the chance to give every student the opportunity to vote on the continuation of the current officer in the postgraduate role. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll now move on to questions of clarification from panellists. I see hands. I will questions of clarification from panellists first. Okay, I will now move on to questions of clarification. So this is not a speech for or against, these are just questions to clarify the motion from the general student body. I see that person first. So,
Hi, my name is Hope, I pronounce it they, them. I just wonder if you have any evidence, because you haven't given any.
We do. We have a number of freedom of information requests that were made, and the information will be available to all students, especially if the motion goes to referendum.
What was the freedom of information request for?
There are 3 freedom of information requests on the back of the motion that you can access.
Also, the second proposer...
Sorry, I will go back to you, but I'll let everyone ask one question first, that's okay. So I will now move to that person there.
My name is Aditya, pronouns they, them. Were this to go to referendum and were to pass, what would be the effects of that on the postgraduate student body? Because as, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there's due to be any by-elections in the new term for any roles. So my question is, would that leave postgraduate students with even less support than they do now?
I will answer the first half of that question as Deputy Returning Officer and Chair of Council. It is up to a decision between the Trustee Board and the Deputy Returning Officer and the Returning Officer, myself, if it is viable to run a by-election. And that's outlined in the bylaws. So basically, the criteria includes, are there students eligible to take time out at that time? Is there a cost on students to take time out at that time? Would we expect good enough engagement to be able to have a representative election? Those are the criteria we would use, and that is decided by the returning officer and the deputy returning officer and the trustee board. I will go there and then go back across. So these are still questions for clarification. If anyone else has any questions for clarification as well, please do put your hand up at any point. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask the second proposer, the person sat on the sofa. So I'm aware that you're a Conservative. Do you think your views represent the whole student body?
I'm going to strike that question from the record, as there is no references to political decisions in the motion. Sticky again, sorry.
So, again, Aditya, there, them. So the question I asked previously was, would there be a postgraduate officer to take over? And is the answer that it's unclear?
We will make the decision at the time when we know what's happening. So basically, the referenda will be, if successful, the referenda will be called at the earliest time to get the most amount of engagement, which is decided by myself with the consultation of the trustee board. And then once we know the outcome of that referenda, then we make that decision afterwards. We don't make the decision before, because then it's assuming what is happening, which is not something we can do. We can't assume political decisions, basically. But yeah, the referendum will take place, I believe the bylaws specifically say, at a time where the most amount of students can engage with it. Question of clarification there.
Thank you, sorry, hogging the mic. I just wanted to say, I wanted to ask, so you say like the postgraduate officer hasn't been representing postgraduates and they've been representing student interests in general, but do you not think that the postgraduate students also are part of general student interests?
As postgraduates, we are students, but our representatives and our interests are not being met. They are different to students who are studying for an undergraduate, and no, they're not being met.
Okay, any final questions any questions for clarification? Okay, I see a couple of hands. I will go at the front because they are a panelist, and then I'll go right at the back next. So, as we do prioritise panelists, sorry about that.
Would you be able to give more examples of the postgraduate goals and things that are not being met?
Sorry, could you repeat that for me?
Could you give some more examples of the postgraduate, what it needs that aren't being met by the postgraduate officer?
I could give some. I'd rather not open up to a massive debate because this is for, if we do go to referendum, there will be a campaign for the referendum, and that's where a lot of this will be discussed. But we do have the information from the Freedom of Information requests and postgraduate students who have attempted to engage with the officer and haven't been able to, and postgraduate students who have been affected by the EC claim, which has also caused significant problems. So we have that.
Okay, I'll take the question at the back. If you're not asking the question, that's fine. You still asking the question?
No, same as
Okay, no worries. I will take that person there. If you are behind, just before you start, if you are behind, can you just move in because I'm not going to be able to see you. And I want to make sure I can ask questions. Either move in or move back. If you are behind there, just because I only just caught your hand quite late. But yeah, you can go first.
I'd just like, I can't find any of the freedom of information requests you said were linked at the end of the motion. And I was just, it's on the board right now, there's 3 links and it's like 3 different articles, but none of them are the freedom of information requests I think you said were there.
Freedom of the information requests are available and are common knowledge to students if they want them. We can provide them, especially if the motion goes to referendum.
So hang on, are they or are they not available? Because I thought you said they were linked.
Yes, they are available.
Where?
That is, they are available. We have had them. Yeah, we've given them. We've got the freedom of information request. Yeah. Yes.
We're going to break a second just so we can find them for you.
So I will check. It is, of course, if we can. If they want specific today. That's fine.
Everyone, just keep chatting to a minimum. We're just doing some technical difficulties. Everyone, please, can I have your attention back, please? We do have clarification on that question. Attention back. We will take a break in between motions because I know that we are going to go quite long on both. So yes, please, can just respond to the question about freedom of information requests.
Thank you for your question. Thank you for giving us time to clarify. The freedom of information requests and the information within will be available if it does go to referendum. It's currently not available due to GDPR, but it is available if it goes to referendum. So currently not, but yes, if it goes to referendum, and we do have them.
Okay, I see you not. Okay, question there.
Since the FOI is available but not available publicly, could we have somewhat of a summary of the issues? I would like to know exactly what has happened to make this happen. I want to understand what the issues have been and how they haven't been met. Just to clarify, because I have no information on it beyond those 3 articles at the moment.
I fully understand that. The reason why we will be leaving it until if it goes to referendum is a number of the information requests have personal information on there and people who don't want it publicly said in a forum like this, and I think we can all agree that would be unfair to do so. So the information's there, but, and can be obtained if we go to referendum.
Okay, I saw there was a hand at the back. Yeah, that was the hand at the back. Can we go there first? And then we'll go there.
Thanks. I guess with the FOI stuff, I completely understand why you may not want to make it public at this forum, and I completely respect that decision. But I guess I'm wondering, it may be quite tricky for people to make an informed decision if the things that you're citing you can't then bring to the panel. And I know you'll probably say, well then, of course, people can vote on it at a referendum. But I think that does leave the panelists perhaps in a quite tricky position. So maybe, is there a way you could tell us a little bit more without including anyone's personal information or breaching anyone's sort of trust, etc., or is it completely sort of open and shut?
Please may I have a minute just to confer with Ash, if that's okay. Thank you.
Just so we're making sure we're not breaking GDPR, please keep quiet. Thank you. Chat to a minimum, please. Thank you very much. We're just clarifying that just so that we ensure we don't break any laws. I will now pass over to the motion proposal.
Okay, so of course the first one is the non-attendance at the Equality and Standards Committee. Number of meetings they weren't attended. Would you like to speak to that? Okay. It's all right. Non-attendance at the Quality and Standards Committee, which again had a huge part to play in the current motions and the issues with the EC policy, is a huge one. Also, a number of students who have come and wish to remain anonymous due to feeling intimidated regarding the conduct of the current postgraduate officer in both on and outside of the university. That's the most I can say without breaking GDPR at this point.
Okay, any other questions or clarification? I see a half hand. Is that a full hand? Yes. So you were like this, so I wasn't sure if that's a full hand. Please make sure you do, I know people have spoken multiple times, but please can you do say your name every time you speak, just for minuting reasons, if that's okay, thank you.
My name is Noor, and I just don't understand. I'm also a postgraduate student, and I just don't understand, clarify, so lack of presence is the issue, or is it
It is one of the issues, yes.
But what's the other issue?
Conduct.
And what the conduct and what exactly?
Again, I can't say more without going to GDPR. However, if it does go to referenda and there is a campaign for it, that it will then be broken down and information will be sent out to people. We do not want people to feel intimidated, nor do we want people to have information shared publicly when they do not wish it. Something that I think we can all agree on it's not fair to do.
Can I just add to that?
Yes, of course. Trying to work out the order in my head.
Yeah, I'd say on that to the panel, there's no, if for instance, turns out we don't have these FOI requests and we're bluffing, well then I think it's fair to assume that the referendum would fail horribly. So again, to the panel, I'm just asking you to give the opportunity to the student body in order to see that evidence available. I appreciate it's difficult not being able to do it and that we're handicapped by GDPR, but again, there's nothing, if it turns out that we didn't have this information, then there'd be still nothing to fear by giving the referendum and giving that chance.
Okay, we have a panelist question here.
Hi, Larissa here. When you're talking about conduct, do you mean as in just being disrespectful, rude, or is it more in another way without having to actually say a person's situation, just a description of the conduct, what it would be classified as, behavior-wise?
I think it is a number of those things. Again, part of the conduct is also part of a difficult situation that's also going to be talked about this evening, and that's something that I think is that opens up a much further debate as well. But it's also non-attendance, inability to communicate. There are a number of students who feel this way, which is why we have put this motion.
Okay, thank you for people's patience. We're going to take question right at the back, and then yourself will be second. Okay? I don't say people's names because I don't know everyone's name, but Chris, you're second. Yes.
Hi, my name is Lexi. Your last point of Union Council believes talks about lack of attendance at the Quality and Standards Committee, policies that were passed as a result, citing specifically the extenuating circumstances policy. Just wondered if you could explain what the postgraduate officer's role is or is supposed to be in those meetings, and what you subsequently believe the impact on students to be as a result of those policies passing, coming out of the meetings.
A number of postgraduate students have ECs. Students as a whole have ECs. It's a massive issue, and it is currently causing a huge concern. And in the crossover, when this person held both education officer and postgraduate officer roles, they non-attended a number of meetings, which caused a significant issue to rise within the ECs, and that's why. And one of the huge reasons why we put this motion forward. Okay. They had the chance to do something and they didn't.
We have a couple people in the queue. I will take, because I've already said that this person will speak, and then we'll take both panelists, and then we'll go back over there. Okay.
Hi, my name's Chris, and I am also a postgraduate researcher. And I would like to ask, do you know how many members of university staff are also sit on the Quality and Standards Committee? And therefore, what percentage of representation wasn't there when the postgraduate officer didn't attend that meeting? And what impact that would have had on a meeting that needs to have normally a half quoracy to pass any motions? So do you understand what level of impact the postgraduate officer would have actually had on the Quality and Standards Committee regarding the EC policy?
I understand what you're saying. What we're bringing here is the fact that the person that represents us wasn't there, and that's part of why we brought the motion forward.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a interesting way of looking at it in that sense. When the SU officers are invited to any meeting, by that logic, they should just never attend any meeting because they're only one person. No, it's about the opportunity to be there and to give the view of the students. People at that meeting might not have understood the impact it had on students. That's why the SU officer is there to discuss it, not just that it's one vote. I think that's a very simple way of looking at it.
Okay, we'll prioritise panellist questions. So we have this one here. Do we have another panellist hand as well? So we'll go there and then to next year.
Hi, my name's Max. I'm just wondering what the impact of the meeting was. What were the impacts on EC?
Excuse me. As obviously you might be aware, I'm sure you are, there are significant changes to the EC which are a detriment to all students and causing a number of issues. And it is about the length of time they can have for resubmittance and a number of other things, and it's caused significant amounts of stress to both undergraduates and postgraduates, and it's not acceptable.
Go to this person here. Just before, there was one or two people in this kind of area who put their hand up a little while ago but hasn't put their hand up since. You still want to speak because I have got you in the queue. Yeah, perfect, okay.
My name is Rosalind. I was just wondering, obviously you said that both undergraduates and postgraduates are affected by the EC changes. Are you going to consider the impact on the undergraduates as well, or is it just mainly the postgraduates that you're focused on right now?
This motion is obviously for the option to have a referendum regarding the postgraduate officer. The EC is something that affects all students, and hopefully there'll be work done to help ratify it and support the students. That's not what this motion is about.
Okay, we're going to go to the person in the hand at the back there. I believe there was some with a hand kind of in the back left here. They're not taking. You are okay. So we're going to go here, then down the front, then at the back.
I'm curious, sorry for the noises. My name's Meg, so just to clarify, because it feels like we've gotten really heavy on the EC, the issue is non-attendance, so the issue is a lack of presence from the postgraduate officer, just to clarify.
yeah, we are not here to discuss the EEC issue. We're discussing part of the motion is the non-attendance of the officer at that meeting.
Okay, clarification question at the front, and then we'll have the final one at the back, and then we'll now move to debate.
Hi, I just wanted to ask, so they didn't attend one meeting, but do you know why? Do you know if they were ill or if they had a reason? And have you considered like any empathy whilst you've been writing this?
It was recurring non-attendance, so it's not just one meeting. Yeah, all of this was considered, as was the feelings of huge amounts of students who feel intimidated, worried, and unable to say publicly how they feel. So, and in a position, in a role in the student union where they are to represent all students, we have to be subject to that democracy, we have to be subject to this process. So, I understand, I'm sorry if they were ill, I appreciate that happens, but this has come forward.
Okay, so we're going to prioritise panellist question first. Sorry, before I move on, I do thank everyone for their patience. I know it can be a bit strange, and of course panellists do get priority, so I know some of you at the back have been waiting, but we will get to you. We have the time, so yes.
Hi, sorry, I'm Rachel. You've spoken a little bit about the recurring absence or the recurring absence from meetings. Are you able to disclose any information about which meetings they were not in, or anything about that, or not? Just wondering for clarification.
So that's in the freedom of information of a request, and will be made available if it goes to referendum. We do urge the panel that you give us the option to give you that information that goes to referendum where we can have that. We know you're asking you to take some faith in that one, but it did happen. We have the evidence.
Okay, question for clarification at the back. I see a couple more. I say we do want to move to debate, so please, if it is a question for clarification, please make sure it is a question to clarify rather than a debating point. Thank you.
So can I just, hello, Poppy, hi. Can I just double check that, again, I completely understand why things are tied up in FOI requests. I'm familiar with them myself. But just for clarification, you can't tell us how many times they haven't attended this meeting. You can't clarify what was the phrase, recurring non-attendance actually means in this situation. You can't clarify what exactly it is they've done to not affect the student body. I'm just feeling like it all feels a little bit vague at the moment. So I would appreciate for the panellists and for, I guess, for the audience, if you could clarify as much as possible, perhaps how many meetings are we talking, did they not go to, how many times in a row was it, that sort of stuff.
It's it is covered in recurring non-attendance, and again, the FOI will have the information when we go to referendum, if we go to referendum, if we have the, if the motion is passed. The position of the officer, of any student union officer who goes to these meetings, is to represent the students, is to represent our interests, and non-attendance hurts us, all as a student body. And that is why this is one of the reasons we have decided to put this motion forward.
Okay, I see two hands. Are these questions for clarification or for debate? Okay, I'll take person on the left first. My left, sorry. Stage right.
Hi, I'm Roman.
Sorry, could you put the mic slightly closer to us, thank you.
I was just wondering, you say the FOI requests aren't available now, but they will be available if it goes to referendum.
Yes.
How do you know they will definitely be available for access then, if not now? Exactly.
So is that an answer to that question or another question? No, it's perfect. Sorry.
A lot of this is falling under the GDPR. We don't want to create situations when we are giving out information about people that aren't happy to have it given out in a public forum like this. We want to make sure that when it comes to referendum, there will be ways which we can make sure that this information is given out. We've only recently to Scotland. That's the thing, that we've not been able to put them in a way that is suitable for public, in a public meeting such as this, that does not harm or give away information that people have asked not to. So by going to referendum, what it also does is it gives us the time to create that and give it to the student body as a whole in a way that it can be done, with also keeping the safety and integrity of the other students as paramount.
Okay, we've had lots of very similar questions about the availability of GDPR requests, so we will not be taking any more questions on that, as we have exhausted all the questions on that. So does anyone have any other questions that are not related to the GDPR request availability specifically? We have a question at the back.
Yeah, Meg again. That was loud. Sorry. So just out of interest, like, because obviously it's mentioned a lot about meetings, but also just like knowing as an officer myself, like the role of like events and stuff. So have there been like, as a postgraduate, like having spoken to postgraduate body, have there been like events that they've been running? Have they been available to students, things like that, like the role of an officer in like a student-facing way? Like, what's your take on that?
No, about the events for postgraduate students, whether that be social events run regarding any sort of postgraduate career paths, those type of things, events for postgraduate students with social, economical, business-wise, however you want to play it, they haven't been there. As postgraduate students, we feel very let down and very alone in where we are right now.
Okay, can I just clarify this is a question, it is not about GDPR requests? Perfect, I will take that. Please say your name before speaking.
Hi, I'm Ross, I'm a postgraduate researcher as well. I just want to know how sort of regular this kind of motion is, like when other people have missed meetings, has it got to this type of setup?
You can pass to me if you want historical data.
Yes, I would like to pass actually from historical data.
Okay, so a vote no confidence is a process that is done as kind of a removal process. From our records, we have not had a vote of no confidence come through in the past 5 years. Beyond 5 years, we do not have the records, but this process has not come for at least half a decade. Any other questions for clarification? I will ask, is this about the GDPR? Perfect. Can we pass over that? I know repeat speakers, but please do say your name again. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Aditya, they, them. So, from what I just heard was that we haven't had a vote of no confidence go through in 5 years.
Sorry, we've not had one proposed.
Proposed,
sorry, thank you.
Proposed in 5 years. Is that, do you think that is to do with the severity of the case here, or is it to do with apathy or people not noticing in previous years? What do you think is the reason for this? Because I've been here a few years and I know bad things that have got, things that was bad for students have gone through boards previously, things like bursary reductions and tuition fee increases, and they've all gone through kind of, I want to say unchecked, because the student officers haven't been able to stop it. Do you think this is worse than that in that way, or do you think that this is a reasonable thing to do in that to vote out the officer that may or may not be really responsible for the EC change?
I assume that is the question for the proposers, correct? Because that is not a question I can answer. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Well, that is true that things of similar, you can debate whether they're worse for students or not, have passed in previous years. Differences, at least that I don't know of the officer not turning up to the meetings where those things were decided. That is the key here. No, you don't vote out the officer just because something related to them has come in that was bad. But the job of the officers is to represent the students, and when the officer doesn't even bother to turn up to do that, that's a problem.
Yes, of course.
This process has been available to every student before us, and it hasn't been taken up. I don't know why, but the decision has been made by us on behalf of a number to do so at this event. So we can't speak for previous ones. I agree with you. Things aren't great, but we have made this decision today because of how we feel.
Okay. Just clarification on process. Our process prioritised questions rather than debates, hence why we are continuing with questions before. Once we have finished questions, that's when we go to debate. So if people ask why we've gone 40 minutes just doing questions, it's because that's what our system prioritises. I see that proposer. I see that observer there.
Do you know what other students or student union representatives should be sitting on the committees? Do you know their contribution to the meetings in regard to the EC policy? And why are they not included in this motion? I'm not saying this because I think they should be included in this motion, but I think you've targeted one individual rather than others that also sit on those committees that you should also be holding responsible, if that is your true intentions and motivations behind this motion.
So are you saying that I brought this motion forward to target an individual?
I'm saying you're not applying it equally to all student union
Could you
representatives.
please rephrase your thing as a question only, not a debate? So what you
Are there,
proposing?
do you know other student union representatives that sit on QSC, and why have you not included them in this motion, whereas you have included River?
Thank you.
Okay. I have brought this forward as a postgraduate student on behalf of a number of postgraduate students because this is what we feel strongly about. There are other student union officers and there are other students who wish to take up that banner, that's fine. This is the decision we've made.
Do you know other student union representatives on QSC?
Just also as a clarification of voter confidences, they have to be raised separately, individually for each officer, as the officers are elected individually and not together, just if anyone asks clarification wise. I saw a question there and then I'll go back to yourself.
Hi, Aditya again, they pronounce they them. Okay, right. My question would be, I understand that you're coming at this from a postgraduate student point of view, so you're specifically, this motion is in the interest of the postgraduate student community. Would you say that if the postgraduate students had, for example, complained about, I don't know, any other full-time officer who was also not available at that meeting or at those meetings that the postgrad officer wasn't, do you think that this would be a motion that you would also bring forward to target them, to vote of no confidence then?
That is not a question for clarification, that is a hypothetical. I will give you the opportunity to rephrase that as a direct question, but you cannot ask a hypothetical as a question for clarification. Okay, we will strike that question from the record. As I cannot see any more questions, we will now move to debate. Thank you for your patience with the question for clarification. As this is a motion against an officer, the first debate against automatically goes to the officer that is mentioned, so I will automatically pass to Ro. Are you taking up the opportunity? Thank you. You have up to 3 minutes.
3 minutes? Okay.
Hello? Just close to your mouth.
Hello everyone, I'm River, the postgrad officer, my pronouns are they, them. I'll be rushing this because I only have 3 minutes. But yeah, I'm sorry that you don't feel my efforts have been sufficient, but I don't agree with your assessment of the situation. Firstly, I'd like to say I've passed my scrutiny panel report, which is where students are paid to review the work officers have been doing. Much of a response to this motion comes from the work that is included in that document. And I'd also like to say I take full accountability for my work and can admit when I've done something wrong, which is I disagree with this motion that's being proposed. The nature of my specific officer role when it comes to events and such is less focused inwards towards the student union, and more focused externally, representing students on committees, etc. And most of my time is preparing for attending and preparing for university committees to represent postgrad students. In response to putting on events, I have put on events. So far this year, I've already spent a quarter of my budget on an event for the university, which hundreds of postgrads have attended. And after this event, we had planned to do more meetings, but through discussions with the postgrad university team, we discussed that we need to do research to work out where we could best support students, because there's different levels of engagement within the student body. So basically, each school of postgraduate students have different engagement levels, and we're now doing research to understand how the SU can support the events by the university, because some schools already have much higher attendance. So this is research that's still undergoing, so we can work out where best to put our finances and where best to support postgrad students. And I agree with the point that postgrad students are in the minority in university and need extra support, and this is why I'm trying to target support, because otherwise I'll just go to schools who already have lots of attendance and engagement. and we need to focus on schools who are engaging with the SU and the university events. Regarding availability, I receive emails from students, and those emails that I respond to in the best way I can. This can be seen when students have come to me about not just educational problems, but funding, housing, community problems, complaints, and what's more. Regarding the points that I ignore my responsibilities to postgrads, I've been working with the anti-casualisation group, Postgrads Who Teach, to understand how casualised contracts affect their working conditions and improve their experiences. I also met students who are not part of that formalised campaign to understand their hesitations, allowing me to formalise their views towards their contracts and articulate the support that is needed from the university. This meant organising lots of different meetups with lots of different faculties, to reach a broadest understanding of the views of students. During Welcome Week, I presented to hundreds of postgrad students about the Students' Union and its events and university life, and attended welcome events to meet students and to speak to academic societies. After a postgrad student came to me with a desire for a community garden, I facilitated meetings with the Edible Campus campaign. I started a group called the UoN Green Group. This is where UoN staff and students can have regular meetings about organising sustainable initiatives, which is something that a student asked me for. I've also done this when students have come to me about rent increases and lack of cleaning in postgraduate accommodation, and I've helped them with this problem. I understand how, for some...
Thank you. We'll now move on to any motions for the vote of no confidence. So anyone wants to speak, not motions, anyone want to speak for the vote of no confidence? Okay, I see that person there. You're not required to come up to the front, that is completely up to yourself.
I want to clarify that wording is very scary, not necessarily for a vote of no confidence. It feels like it's gotten really, really personal, and I don't want anyone to feel like they're personally being attacked here. Just democracy's great. Referenda is never necessarily a bad thing, but also that personal issues. But yeah, just democracy's great. That's just what I want to say.
Thank you. Are there any speeches against the motion? I see that first hand there. Yes. So it's whoever puts their hand up first, by the way, just to want to keep an eye out for, okay? You can't keep your hand up and be first, I'm sorry. You have you reschedule it to 2 minutes? 2 minutes, yes. You have 2 minutes starting now.
My name is Chris. I'm a postgraduate researcher in the Faculty of Engineering, and I also hold the position of Education Officer in academic year 21-22. And I find this motion to be completely disingenuous, to be honest. It's my personal opinion that I think this is politically motivated, for the aforementioned reason that the Education Officer is not included in this motion, who also sits on the Quality and Standards Committee. And I think that if you're going to table a politically motivated motion, then you should do it with your chest. And you can't really base it on a small number of private testimonies that you're refusing to give to us. You have biased the panel into voting for your motion in order to get that information, which I think is completely unfair. As a postgraduate, I understand that the Students' Union doesn't focus on postgraduates. I was an undergraduate here as well, and the SU definitely focuses on them more. I think that's something they're working on, and I think that holding the individual officer to account is completely unfair. As an organisation, there is a lack of understanding of how postgraduates work and live, and I think that's something that has to be tackled at an institutional level.
Sorry, could I just stop there? I have stopped your time, so you will not lose any time. Please refrain from making comments about SU staff, as that breaks the staff student protocol. That is my first and final warning. I will restart your time, so you will still have your full time starting from now.
Furthermore, I actually sat on Quality and Standards Committee as Education Officer. I argued against the EC policy when it was in its infancy, and I was completely ignored by the members of staff on that committee. I've sat in the highest university committees, and my voice has always been ignored. And to be honest, I would say that River's attendance on that committee would not have had an impact on whether that policy went through or not. I think, to be honest, the student union, you can have lots of problems with the student union, but River Butterworth is not one of them. They're a principled person who stands up for what they believe in, and that is publicly known, and I think the arguments against them is completely politically motivated, and you should reject this motion.
Thank you. If we can keep noise to a minimum for accessibility reasons, so please use BSL clapping if possible. Now we're taking motions for the vote, so we'll go to the person in the back there.
Hello, hi, Mark Fannin, they, them pronouns. I'm an undergraduate student. I think why this motion should go ahead is, first of all, I think transparency is certainly important. And I think, as the motion seconder previously said, if these claims are indeed false or overblown or whatever else, then that decision should be made later on when all of the students can actually see them. And yeah, I think accountability is very important in that sense. And when it comes to targeting individuals for attendance and whatnot, I think regardless of the impact that it would have made at the meeting, just purely on principle, not being there to stand up for your constituents is certainly wrong, and especially when it comes to repeat non-attendance. And yeah, I think that's the crux of the matter, really. So I would say support this motion today. Thank you.
Okay, speaking for, yes. Just before I move over to you though, we will be finishing the debate at 7:05 because that is half of Union Council. So we'll continue debating until we get there. I see that observer there. And your 2 minutes start after you say your name.
Okay, I've got a whole thing, but I'll quickly go to the EC stuff.
Sorry, could you repeat?
My name's Butterworth. I am the postgraduate officer. Thank you. So about the Quality and Standards Committee, the new EC policy was passed outside the Quality and Standards Committee meetings. I still attended every Quality and Standards Committee meeting I could, avoiding my illnesses that I had, and I voted against every amendment that was in the thing that was potentially damaging to students. Even when I casted a vote to get staff on side to vote against the proposals, even when staff voted on it with me, we were still ignored. The university did not listen to its staff or students. The university created the policy after the meetings were finished at the end of the year and basically decided to write whatever it wanted and then put it in. Even when I campaigned to have basically time where you could have, sorry, my brain's gone blank. Yeah, basically where you could have self-certification time, so you got more extra time for your essays without having to submit an EC. That got voted forward and that got ignored. That was the staff voting for it and it got ignored. So they passed the EC policy once it happened, and I agree with the EC campaign that it's awful what they've done, but I am not to be held responsible for the university ignoring both the staff and me in those meetings. They did it on their own time. The university does this repeatedly. Every meeting I go to, the SU and students get ignored because the university wants to pass something. They did it with COPS on campus. They don't tell the students that they're doing that until it already happened. This is something they want to push through 2 years. And I was a person who was helping putting a safety net policy into the SU during COVID when the SU was refusing to do that. I was leading that campaign. So I think it's very disingenuous to say that I'm a person who's not been fighting for this. Every single meeting I go to, I fight the university on these issues, and I'm repeatedly ignored. I voted against every single thing that they put in that motion, and it still happened anyway. So I just see that as an invalid point, and I do the best I can to support postgrad students. Like, in the rest of my speech, I've got so much more about examples of how I actually help students.
Delegate, sorry. Are there now any speeches for the motion? I see that observer there at the back. Please state your name for the minutes, and your 2 minutes will start after you've finished saying your name.
Jake Ferris-Woolley, I am speaking in my capacity as a student. Looking at this from a pragmatic point of view, there have been 2 postgraduates who have stood up tonight to speak in favour of this motion because they do not feel that they are getting the support of the officer who was elected to represent their points of view. In any other role, in any other organisation, by now they would have been, the candidate would have been on a performance improvement plan and would have been managed out of the organisation had they not have fulfilled the task that had been set on them. I think that the panel should vote in favour of this motion simply for the fact that if postgraduates are speaking up because they do not feel they are being supported by their elected officer, that there will be others out there who feel the same way, and not going to a referendum deprives them of that autonomy. Thank you.
Okay, are there Any speeches against? I see that person there, first hand at the front. Please say your name for the minutes. As soon as you finish saying your name, that's when you start the timer. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Raven. I'm a PhD researcher in the physics department. Earlier this year, I contacted River about my desire to have more community gardening on campus, as I find many other similar schemes that exist on campus are hard to access because of my workload. And it's because of their willingness to help with that and put the work in that I've had the opportunity to work with students and staff and external community groups to help make this happen. It's an experience that's enriched my postgraduate experience, benefited my mental health, and I think what I have had help with will help other postgraduate students as well. So I think for this reason, it would be a bad decision to vote for a vote of no confidence, because not only, has River been doing a good job, I think, but it would mean that there was a gap with no postgraduate officer, no representation for however long it would take to get a referendum, which would significantly, damage our ability to have change happen.
Okay, do we have anyone wanting to speak for the motion? Final call for any for speeches. I'll see that person there.
Hi, I am Scarlett and I'm speaking as a student. I would support this motion because I requested an interview from River on this motion within my capacity as head of news at University Radio Nottingham. They never replied. Therefore, I would dispute River's claim that they want to be accountable for their work.
Okay. Are there any speeches against? Oh, I had two hands very much at the same time. So we have a new person speaking. Can we take a person in the back? You tune in at start after you finish stating your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Poppy. I'm actually the community officer here at the UoNSU and I work with River. And just for a bit of clarification, because Mark, I agree with your point that transparency is incredibly important in a process like this. My main thing comes back to this case of GDPR again. You're asking people to vote on something that they just aren't, I feel, well informed about. And when I first ran to be an officer, I thought my job would be so different than what it actually is on a day-to-day basis. There's a meeting, right, called the Purple Flag meeting, which I just can't attend. I've attended it once during my entire time in this role, because I literally do not have the time in my schedule with all the other meetings and stuff I have to do, which I enjoy doing, but I can't attend that meeting. That is recurrent non-attendance. It's not a meeting at the university, sure, but it's still a meeting that I'm not attending as one of your officers, because I literally do not have the time in my day. Like, I've got another meeting that is probably more important than that specific meeting to choose from. I think there's a gap of knowledge perhaps between the proposers and what we do on a day-to-day basis, and I'm not coming at the proposers for that at all, because like I said, when I first ran for this role, I thought I'd been doing so much different stuff than what I actually do on a day-to-day basis. But for the purpose of the panel and the audience, I think it's worth understanding that recurrent non-attendance can sound bad on the surface, but in practice, it may just be that somebody can't attend, somebody's ill, and Scarlett, on your point, River has been away from work for the last couple of weeks, so couldn't have responded to your emails. I'm assuming that's when you sent the thing, so that's why they won't have responded. Basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes this job is complicated. You don't always get to do it the way you want to do. Trust me, I know this very well. And sometimes that means that things get passed that you don't want to pass, that you can fight so hard not to pass. If you're outvoted on a committee, you're outvoted on a committee. Much as I hate it, probably the worst part of my job, there's nothing you can do about that.
Okay, this will be the last round of speeches if we get a for speech, so we have balance. Is there any speeches for this motion? I see that person there had the hand up first.
Yeah, right. Mainly in response to those ones, you know, in terms of not having fullness of information at this stage, again, that is what this motion is for. It is so that the information can be released, so students can make an informed decision. Obviously, due to GDPR restrictions, that's hard now, but it's not like voting this forward would immediately remove them. There is the main referendum, which has got its own quoracy rules in place for that. And also, on the second point, when it comes to accountability and knowing what you're going to do in your job, I might add that this is, for the panel's sake, that this is actually River's second tenure as an officer, granted education officer last year, and therefore the plea that, oh well, I didn't know the university wouldn't listen to me, and B, I wasn't aware of all the meetings I'd have to do in this job, don't really float that well, considering that they've already been in an officer role for a year prior to getting this.
Sorry, please do not interrupt people when they're speaking. We will now take the final speech for. I see that. Let's see yourself. Oh, sorry. Before you start, could you, person who just spoke, could you just say your name for the minutes, please?
Oh yeah, Mark Van. Sorry,
Sorry, thank you. This timer will start after you say your name for the minutes.
My name is River Butterworth, my pronouns are they, them. This thing that happened was passed last year when I was in a different officer role, again, outside of the committees. I was also on a PRC committee, which happened at the same time, which whenever I could, I would get an officer to sit. PRC is a place where, for example, I passed the thing increasing postgrad stipend.
Can we pause the time?
Yeah, pause timer.
I bought batteries just for this.
Due to technical issues, we will reset your timer for 2 minutes. It's like a pit stop. That's great. Anyway.
I can't.
Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. We have reset your 2 minutes.
How are we going?
But you can start wherever in your speech, okay?
So yeah, as I mentioned last year, I was sitting on a board called PRC, which is where the university votes on financial stuff. I tried to split my time between both because they're both incredibly important things to sit on, especially when the university has decided how much money to give postgrads. Like, I think that's a pretty important place to go. And every time I did, I went to the emergency meetings on QSC as well and voted down everything they voted for, and they still ignored me. I also just think the other work I've been doing, for example, like the alumni discount, that is closer than ever to happening, and that's something that's across the board is an average thing that universities do, and it gives money to students who want to do postgraduate who have studied here. If that work is not done, even if there's another person elected, which I probably don't think there would be, this just won't happen. So this knock-on effect means that students next year who want to continue their studies will not get an alumni discount, and that just means hurting students financially for hundreds of thousands of pounds because of a thing that's motivated that I couldn't have fixed anyway. Like, I was doing multiple boards. Last year I was on 16 committees. 16 committees to sit on, and I missed a few meetings for me while I was also having mental health problems. Like, I did the best I can. I am still doing the best I can for students. I am trying my best. And I genuinely care about the student experience. I've been campaigning for the last 5 years whilst I've been at the university to do stuff like safety nets, to win students money during COVID when they weren't allowed to leave their rooms. Like, all the time I have been fighting for students, and I will continue to fight for students. And I think this is just a personal attack on me because you don't like me, which is fine. But like, I couldn't have done anything to stop the EC stuff, and I agree with the EC campaign. Like, I am there to help. I am there to talk to students when they send me emails. I help students when they've asked me for help. Like, I do everything I can in my power, and yeah, I think that's ultimately why I should vote against it, because I want to continue helping students and getting students support.
Okay, that is the end of the debating. I will ask if there are any panellists that have any clarification questions. Yes.
Hi, I'm Rachel. Just what does referenda actually mean? Are there ways for postgraduate people to also have their representation that doesn't necessarily include the bonking of this officer? Or can I just get a clarification as to what it means and how people can actually be represented?
Yeah, so a referenda is where every student gets to have a vote. So one student, one vote. And if this was to go to referendum, it will be to remove River Butterworth from the role. When it comes to accountability processes in the structure, in the Students' Union, outside of scrutiny panel, which is jury selection, like yourself, this is the only other accountability process outside of scrutiny panel, which is a jury service selection. Okay, so anyone who doesn't get selected jury, that is the accountability process that is available within the structures. Okay. What we're going to do now is we are now going to move to voting. So I will get up and explain what's going on now. So you are going to get a ballot paper with yes or no, like what I talked about nearly an hour ago. Yes is you want students to have a vote on this, so you want it to go to referenda. No means you don't want it to go for referenda, and you don't want then you won't go to referenda. Okay? So yes for referenda, no not to have a referenda. You are not voting to remove the officer tonight. Okay? You're voting for the referenda, just so everyone understands, as well as all observers here as well. You're not voting to remove the officer. You're voting if the referenda should happen or not. Okay? My team will now give out the ballots. While voting is happening, I will be suspending the Union Council for 10 minutes so that we can have a bit of a break, as we have been debating for an hour. This will not eat into debating time, so we will get a full hour for the second motion. So just a heads up, this will not eat into debating time. So 10 minutes. Panellists, if you can, keep around after you voted, you can do whatever you like, but please vote. Observers, please kindly keep the chats down in this room to a minimum so people can vote. If you do want to chat, please go outside, and we'll be back at 20 past, 7:19:20, 7:20. Any questions, please approach myself. Okay, everyone, thank you very much. Please take your seats. I have just been informed that at 8 o'clock we will be under quorum, which means the meeting will not be able to continue. For that, we are going to ensure that debate and questions are finished by 8 o'clock. Okay? So that, because this is the motion that came through as part of the Emergency Council, the reason why we're here, we want to make sure it gets voted tonight. If we are at a point where panellists do not feel like they have the ability to vote at the end of that debate, we will then come to that at that point. I'm very sorry about that, but unfortunately due to the lack of panellists, having this on the last week term makes that very difficult. Just before we continue, I will be announcing the results of the previous motion. Can the ballot people send me the results, because I don't have them on my phone? Ballot people. Just getting sent through. Just so that I have the record. Okay. So, as this was a motion to referenda, it needed 50% plus 1 to pass. So that is 9 votes. There are 16 people. Divided that by 2 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. Yes got 14 votes. No got 2 votes. So the vote no confidence referenda will happen, and there will be a notification of that in the new year once we have agreed dates under the bylaws. We will now move to motion 45203. End UN complicity with Israeli war crimes. Could we have the proposer to speak on this motion? Okay, so you have 3 minutes once the timer starts.
Hello.
Oh, give me 1 second, just need to start timer.
Okay.
Please do state your name and then the timer will start after the name. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Rosemary. And this motion is to end the University of Nottingham's complicity in Israeli war crimes. And there's sort of 2 parts to this motion. We're asking both the Students' Union to put in place policy to stand in solidarity with Palestine and against the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And we're also asking the Students' Union to lobby for the university itself to end its complicity in what's happening in Gaza and what Israel is committing over there. So I think we're all aware that there's a genocide happening in Gaza. We're not here to debate that. And we are aware that the university has ties to Israel through its partnerships with arms companies such as BAE Systems and Rolls-Royce, from which it has taken over £43 million. And we're aware that the university has not put out any meaningful statement of solidarity with Palestine, despite the fact that when there was a similar war in Ukraine, the university put out a statement of solidarity with Ukraine. It offered bursaries and hardship funds and specific support and well-being support to Ukrainian students. It has not done the same for Palestinian students. The University of Nottingham even partnered with the university in Ukraine. We would call for it to do the same with Palestine. Unfortunately, all the Palestinian universities have been bombed. We're also asking the SU to support the BDS movement, which means boycott, divestments and sanctions. It means that the SU should no longer platform within its building companies that are on the BDS list, which is linked somewhere in this motion if anyone wants to read it. That includes Starbucks and Costa. We'd like those to be removed and banned from SU buildings, and we'd like the SU to campaign and to lobby the university to also remove these companies from its buildings. We'd like the university to cut any ties it has with any companies on the BDS list, and we'd like the SU to provide campaign funding and support to societies engaged in activities in support of Palestine, similar to what it did with support to
groups opposing South African apartheid. And we'd like the SU to show support with local rallies in solidarity with Palestine and to help organise these. We'd like the SU to condemn distortions in media coverage over the ethnic cleansing that's happening in Palestine. We'd like them to condemn the attempts by the British government and university managements to silence support for Palestine. We'd like the SU to stop trying to silence support for Palestine as well, which it has been doing. We'd like them to campaign for the right to boycott and to resist the anti-boycott bill that the government is trying to push through. We'd like them to condemn the conflict being used to incite Islamophobia or anti-Semitism and to support students who are facing discrimination at this time. We'd like them to implement some broader anti-racism policies to help tackle this. I think I might be out of time. There's a lot more in this motion. It's very long. It took us 5 societies a very long time to write. Please read it. Am I out of time?
Yes, you are, yeah. I was waiting for you to finish your sentence, but you kept going. So.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you very much. Sorry, that was my father calling me, so I'll call him later. Anyway, that is the second Uni Council in a row that has called me during this. Anyway, are there any questions of clarification from the panellists? We will be taking up to about 10 to 12 minutes of questions for clarification first. Any questions for clarification via the panellists? I see that panelist there.
I know, sorry, I'm Kayla, by the way. I know that there's some different lists going on in terms of like which companies exactly to boycott. I know some people are more in favour of having the idea of having a targeted boycott, say things like Starbucks, but then you might be able to buy from other companies just so that it's more focused, if that makes sense. When you're talking about this boycott, I apologise, I don't know that much information on the exact BDS list, but is that more of a targeted boycott, for certain companies, or is that just an all-round boycott? I really hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I think we'd ask the university and the SU to focus on targeted boycotts, as that's what's being more pushed for by the BDS movement. And yeah, if you do want to have a look at the list, there's like 2 links on this document somewhere about what companies specifically are put in the BDS movement. I've also got a bunch more legislation that I forgot to put in this motion that I might be able to put somewhere else in another union council about BDS. But yeah, I think targeted boycotts are more what we're looking at.
Any other questions of clarification from panellists? Okay, I will now take up to 10 questions of clarification from observers. This is not debate, this is clarification. I see a couple of hands. I see the hand in front there. And then we'll go to the second person behind.
I'm Charlotte. Do you support a 2-state solution?
No.
Okay, question clarification behind.
Hi, do you condemn the October 7th attacks?
I condemn the deaths of all innocent civilians.
Sorry, did you want a question or is, okay, can I take a question here, please? Oh,
I don't think that really answered the question.
Okay, if you want to...
Do you condemn that?
I don't think this is relevant to the motion.
Could I take that question there, please?
I think that anything that's not included in the motion isn't relevant to the motion.
That's not a question.
Yeah, could you ask a question, please?
Okay. This is more of a question for Ashley from Historic Information, but I believe there are 2 motions that are already standing at the Students' Union that are relevant to this motion that would indicate previous support for a similar motion that doesn't quite go to these lengths. Would you confirm that that is the case?
Yes, I'm able to give that historical context. Last year via referenda, a motion called Solidarity with Palestine was passed by the student body via referenda and is currently under ratification by the trustee board. That is the only motion currently on the books. There was conflict. Oh, okay. I can't mention is Bambier? Okay. Okay.
Motion to avoid conflict with both BAMBAE and Solidarity with Palestine. Those are the 2 motions that also back up what's in this motion. But
Yeah, sorry.
There's no conflict in play, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, so there was another motion called BAMBAE, which is about divesting from arms companies from the university, I believe. There was conflict with those motions because they were referring to those. They have been removed in impact assessment. You are correct. They do sit alongside those, but they do different things, hence why this motion can be tabled. Okay, there's a couple of hands I didn't see. I'm going to go all the way at the back first, because I see that. These are questions for clarification. As I'm happy to answer any historical or democratic clarifications, but that's all I can answer. Everything will be given to the motion proposer.
Hi, Lexi again. Purely from a financial standpoint, divesting from these companies is going to take a massive ton of money, of profitable money, away from the university. And to the best of my knowledge, a lot of the money specifically from these companies is going into, for lack of better words, front-facing. So, for example, paying for people's jobs at the university. I just want to know if you've considered exactly where cuts as a result of taking away this money are going to occur in the university, because the financial implications are inevitable.
So looking at the financial implications, how would that be affected?
So as we learned at the last union council I was at, the university has a lot of money, it has a lot of investments in a lot of places. I do not believe that it would actually bankrupt the university to stop taking money from arms companies. And I think that part of the demands of the demilitarized campaign, who are part of the wider group of people who helped write this motion, is for the university to invest in sustainable and ethical research companies and find alternative places to invest, and in alternative places where it can make its money from that aren't supporting Israel and aren't supporting war and genocide. So yeah, I think that part of what we're calling for is for the university to rethink its investments, find other places to get money from, and also I don't think it's going to take a huge financial hit to the university. Also, I think the university losing a bit of money is not as bad as 20,000 people dying.
Okay, I saw a couple of hands went up but went back down, but they have just gone back up, so I will keep that in the queue. So person in front of the person who's spoken, thank you. Sorry, could everyone who just put their hand up, please put your hand up again, just so I can see. Okay, so panellists will be prioritised next, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3. Oh no, 1, 2, 3.
Me again, Meg again. Just out of interest, with the rising cases of anti-Semitism, with everything that's going on, including in Nottingham, are there any sort of plans in place to ensure that this, if passed, would just not increase any anti-Semitism against staff members, students, etc.? Are there any sort of things you're putting in place with this motion that would protect Jewish students as well?
So I believe there are multiple lines in this motion which refer specifically to protecting Jewish students and to condemning anti-Semitism. So yeah, I think part of what we're calling for, especially with the line about asking the NSU to condemn the conflict being used to incite anti-Semitism, and there's a line further down the resolves that asks the SU to implement more anti-racism policies. That includes anti-Semitism policies. Yeah. So yeah, there is multiple lines in this motion that protect or should protect Jewish students.
Okay, I will now go questions from panellists first, as they are prioritised. We'll go there and then the one next to yourself.
Hi, my name's Rachel. Just as a clarification and a summary, what do you propose within this motion that is different from the current pre-existing motions that are currently being offered? I'm sorry if that didn't make sense, by the way.
Yeah, so this motion actually calls for BDS, which previous motions haven't, or previous motions that have been presented haven't gone through. That's one major difference, I think. It goes into a lot more detail and depth than other motions. It's also more slightly relevant to more recent events, as it's calling for a ceasefire, which obviously previous motions haven't done. And it's also calling for a statement against the repression of free speech by the government and by university management around current genocide in Gaza. Don't like to call it conflict. So yeah, it's a lot more detailed, it's a lot more specific to the current climate. There's a few different differences here.
Just for a point of clarification, because we always ask this when acronyms are used, could you just explain what BDS stands for?
Yeah, once again, BDS stands for Boycott, Divestment and Sanctions.
I see that panelist there.
No, panelist there, sorry.
Hi, I'm Miles. Just for clarification, you said you do targeted boycott. Why targeted, not general?
So the reason that the boycott, divestment and sanctions movement calls for targeted boycotts is because it's easier and it kind of takes down companies more specifically. For example, targeted boycotts against Starbucks have caused Starbucks to go bankrupt in Morocco. So there's like a whole lot of companies on the BDS list. The boycott, divestment and sanction list. It calls for targeted boycotts, consumer boycotts, and also pressure on companies rather than boycotting. So for example, companies like Google, very difficult to like mass boycott. However, companies like HP, it would be very easy for the SU to stop issuing HP laptops. So it's like what is going to be more effective in ending ties with Israel, essentially.
Okay, question and clarification. People put their hands up clearly just so I can see them. Okay, whoever has their hands up now, there will be the last questions of clarification. So I will take those in order as I saw them. So yourself there, please mention your name beforehand.
Hi, Aditya, pronounced they them. A historical question, I believe. It was mentioned earlier that a couple of motions have been passed along these lines. They've not been ratified yet, and yet they were passed, I don't know how many months ago now. Is there a reason for that? Is there a time frame on that? Do we know anything about that?
So the student union implemented an impact assessment process to ensure that motions were legal, as well as around the reputational, organisational, financial and strategic risk. It's something that trustees have to consider, but there is just a new process to make that easier for the trustee board. The reason why that ratification has not happened, I will ask people to chat directly to either your officers who are trustees, your student trustees who are also listed on the website. But that's the process that it's going through. But anything else, I would devolve that to the trustees as the body who are dealing with that. I will take question in the purple, please.
Hi, just to clarify, on the motion it talks about repression from the students' union and the university itself when it comes to the free speech of students speaking out about Palestine, and I was just wondering whether or not you could shine a little more of a spotlight on that specifically, what you mean there. Thanks.
Recently, last week, the Marxist Society was suspended by the SU for supporting Palestine, essentially. We're aware that one student in particular is under investigation by the university for having given speeches at protests. The university haven't been able to tell him exactly what it is that he said that's put him under investigation, so we are under the impression that these are sort of threats and intimidation tactics by the university to silence him and the rest of the society. There's also a link somewhere on this document about wider government suppression and suppression from other university management. We've seen this happen in other universities across the country as well. For example, KCL, King's College London, sorry, acronym, suspended like half their SU for supporting Palestine. UCL, University College London, disbanded their Marxist Society for supporting Palestine. We've seen repression of free speech for pro-Palestinian students from SUs and universities across the country, and it is now also happening here. So yeah, that is definitely something that there's examples of.
Thank you. I will ask for people's brevity when it comes to questions so we can move on to debate, but we will take everyone who had their hands up for questions. So person at the back there, and then it'll be, in order, it'll be yourself at the back there, then there. Okay?
I know you might say that this isn't relevant, but I think this motion fundamentally also links to how this conflict ends. You've said you don't support a two-state solution. What do you support then?
So that's a personal question about my personal stance, which actually has nothing to do with the motion. But just in case anyone was curious, I support the total decolonization of Palestine and the return of the land to the Palestinian people.
Okay, question at the back, please.
So I apologise for miscommunicating my previous question. I'm going to rephrase it. My question is about the money specifically going into the students' union, not the university, i.e. an organisation that does not have billions of pounds of profit and money that they can just dip into. So I'm going to ask the same question. Can you speak about how you've predicted and the plans you've made for how this money will be rediverted, or rather that we deal with the lack of money now going into the students' union, whether people will lose jobs, whether you intend to cut specific things. I just would like to clarify what your actual plans are for that.
So it's not my job to bring new businesses into the SU or to give people jobs, but the SU has other outlets such as Portland Coffee and Boots that are owned by itself that it makes money from. With regards to companies like Costa, which operate within the SU, as I said with the university, the SU could also just bring in a different company which is more ethical and isn't complicit. So yeah, they could still make money just from different places.
Just a clarification, the Costa that is in Portland Building is not owned or operated by the Students' Union. That's fine. People don't know. I'm happy to clarify. Yeah, take yourself there, and then we'll move on to debate after that. So yeah, last two there.
Hi, in your motion you speak about condemning anti-Semitism. Have you considered speaking or contacting to the Jewish Society about this?
I'm open to talking to the Jewish Society about this if they're willing to talk to me. So yeah.
But surely if you're talking about getting the SU to proactive do something, you should be contacting the Jewish Society first before asking them about anti-Semitism. Surely that's generally how these things work.
Could you rephrase?
What I'm trying to say is, have you considered that if you're going to talk about anti-Semitism, that you should speak to the people who are actually affected by it and the elected representatives who represent those groups on campus? And if so, why haven't you contacted it before? Why haven't you contacted them before submitting a motion about anti-Semitism, which includes references to anti-Semitism?
So I don't think it is policy to contact specific groups about anything before proposing a motion about them. The meeting that numerous student groups attended to begin writing this motion was an open meeting that was open to all students, so you could have come to that. It was sort of public knowledge. I don't believe, sorry, I'm not Jewish, but I don't believe that the Jewish Society represents every single Jewish student on campus. So,
we do.
are you, like, there may have been Jewish students, I obviously didn't ask the religions of every student in the meeting about this motion, but there may well have been Jewish students present in the writing of this motion. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to know that.
I think we have a question.
Yeah, can I just clarify that any Jewish student who is a Jewish student is eligible and able to seek membership in the Jewish Society and able to be represented, allowed to vote in our elections, in the same way that not every student votes in the student union elections, but they are still their officers and represent them.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. We will now move to debates against the motion to start off with, as we've just had debate from floor. Who wants to do the first speech against the motion? I see the person at the back there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to make a very personal appeal.
Okay. Just as a heads up before you start, you will have 2 minutes. I will do some hand signals if you want to kind of keep me in your eye line. Sorry, I didn't say this previously, but I have been doing them. 1 minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds.
So
okay. Please, can you state your name?
Hi, my name is Nadav. I'm an Orthodox Jewish student. And I think something has been completely skipped over here. This motion is incredibly distressing for me, as it has severe personal implications. As an Orthodox Jewish student, in accordance with Jewish law, I keep kosher. This means my diet is very restricted, and the options for what I can eat are very limited. There are currently kosher food options in a restaurant upstairs, with concrete plans to expand this next semester. If this motion passes, this will be stopped completely, which means I and all the other Orthodox Jews will not be able to eat on campus at all. Thank you.
Okay, we will now take, is there any speech for? Okay, I saw 2 hands very quickly. I will take that hand then. You don't have to come to the front. You can speak at your seat. Please state your name and we'll start the timer when you start. As I said, the hand signals if you want to just keep me in your eye lines.
Hi, my name is Shraddha. So I'm part of one of the societies that wrote this proposal. I'm from POC Bain Engineers at this university. So what was just mentioned, we did not say that in our proposal. Furthermore, the Royal Engineering Council in this country states that there are 4 major ethical principles that all engineering work should follow. The BAE and Rolls-Royce ties at this university violates those. Furthermore, the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Act at this university is also being violated because there's a lack of support being shown to Palestinian students that was shown to Ukrainian students in a similar situation. Furthermore, the university also has an ethics framework that is also, I feel like, being violated. So I'm not only representing myself, but my committee and my members. And thank you, if they have any time.
You still have a minute 15.
Okay, a minute and 15. So I think that the ties that I just mentioned are very critical to this particular proposal that we have submitted, and I think voting against it would be very detrimental. Thank you.
Okay. Could I see any speeches for? I will be trying to point people out who haven't spoken before, so that we get a range of things. So, anyone want to speak? So we just had 4. Does anyone want to speak against the motion? I see that hand there. You can speak wherever you are. You don't have to come to the front. It's,
I want to.
that's fine.
Hi.
Just keep me in your eye line for signals, okay? Once you say your name, I will stop the time.
Okay, hi, my name is Charlotte Baker and I'm elected educational site for the JSARC. I just want to quickly clarify before, we know that it doesn't say anything about kosher meals, but getting rid of Israeli products is essentially getting rid of these kosher things upstairs because they're imported from Israel. Anyway, I believe no one here supports violence and terrorism in any sense. As a Jewish woman, I'm also pro-Palestinian in the sense that innocent people should not live in fear and scared for the lives of their families. Furthermore, because of this, I believe solidarity between Jews and Palestinians is more imperative than ever. Of course, there'll be things we disagree on, for instance, a lot of the facts that you've used to back up your claims, but as UK citizens, we should not be further polarising each other. I believe in a 2-state solution, and anyone who is pro-Palestinian, therefore supporting the safety of Palestinians, surely would agree. As 2-state solution is working together, and although we cannot do this within Israel, we can be better in England. We need to work with organisations such as Roots Project, working to bring Palestinian and Israeli residents of the West Bank together to further understanding each other's narrative. The Women's Wage Peace Organisation, which unites Palestinian and Israeli women, which presses the government to end the violence. The Geneva Initiative, which at least attempts to provide a solution to this horrible present. As the educational sector, I think that we could think of anything better than creating an interfaith event where collectively we raise money for these organisations. We are the future of the country, the representation of our religion within the university. Why shouldn't we work together instead of boycotting each other? A boycott to Israel within the SU is not significant for Israel, but it is to our Jewish students. And to create a diversity that becomes discriminatory and hurtful, especially when our Jewish students may not be able to eat kosher meals. Together, let's fight for a solution that changes the narrative as us v you. Let's work for a future of peace together. Thank you.
Okay. I would ask people to use BSL clapping just for auditory reasons. Sorry, can people put their hands down, and then once I say, is there anyone speaking again, put your hands up just to make it fair, because I know a lot of people want to speak on this. Is there any people that want to speak for this motion? Okay, I see that hand there at the back. You have no need to come to the front. If you want to come to the front, that's up to you. But please do, yeah, sorry about that. Please state your name before you start. Of course, just keep an eye out for me for hand signals around time. But we will start the time after you state your name.
So my name is Julie, I'm sorry, I hate public speaking, but I just think, so this conflict, it's not a case of, the reason the solution wouldn't, with an occupying power, you can't just go into someone's country and say, okay, I'm going to sit there and take over your land and just blood all of the things that Israel has done. Furthermore, when we're looking at boycotts, the whole idea is because we don't want to be supporting the genocide happening right now. We can sit here and debate the history, and it's a very long conversation, a lot longer than 2 minutes, but at the end of the day, the university is directly complicit in research that is creating arms to kill innocent civilians. We can talk about what happened on the 7th of October, but we should also talk about the 75 years of oppression. We can't just ignore that when it benefits us. And talking about anti-Semitism is important, but I don't think it's the most important thing here because innocent people are being murdered. No, you're reacting like that, but at the end of the day, you're sat here in the UK safe. There's people right now on the rubble. Yeah, okay, but other people's families, and that's not okay.
Sorry,
so why are we not?
Can you not interrupt speakers when they're speaking? You have 1 minute remaining.
And this notion of there's so many things we can be doing to support kosher. Israel's not the only producer of kosher foods. Same thing with creating. Oh, sorry.
No, what thing do you carry on?
Right. So the main point about kind of wanting this ceasefire and having that stance, we as a university should be supporting the end of a genocide. Like I'm really confused as to why this is such a long debate, just because it's so simple. Killing people shouldn't be good. And I think trying to discuss this without being able to go into the facts and figures, just don't be pro-genocide. Like it's as simple as that. It's really not as deep as people make it out to be. We shouldn't be okay with murdering people who don't have a right to kill themselves, like to defend themselves. It's not normal. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's just not something we should be okay with.
Okay, can everyone put their hands down so we make it fair for everyone? That was a speech for the motion. Is there any speeches against the motion? I see that observer there. You have 2 minutes. Your time will start after your name. Please keep me in your eye line for time.
Hi everyone, my name's Ellie. I'm the campaigns officer for Nottingham Jewish Society. I wanted to say a few things. I don't think anyone here is pro-genocide. I think what we just said is that we support a two-state solution, a solution that works for everyone. And I actually want to pick up on what you said about you're here safe, because I think I can talk a bit about some of the stuff that's happened on our campus and in our city. Because I think that we've had Jewish students who for no reason have been called out. And that's happened I can't tell you the exact details for confidential reasons, but I can tell you that it's happened, and it's happened on anonymous forums, it's happened on anonymous Instagram accounts. We've had incidents where the people who, the rabbi in Nottingham, their old house, defaced with graffiti. I mean, it is relevant. You're talking about our safety. If you want to talk about...
Sorry, could we...
Sorry.
So, excuse me, I've just paused the timer. I've asked people not to interrupt other people. I expect the same for both sides of the argument. If you're going to continue to interrupt, I will ask you to leave. Thank you. Your time will start at 1 minute 23.
I think that we want to be able to live on this campus and just live in peace. And there are loads of Jewish students who have been taking off their kippas, the ones that we're wearing today, because they don't feel safe. And there is actually evidence to show that on a campus that has enacted a BDS policy, anti-Semitism, the likelihood of a student facing anti-Semitism goes up by about 2 to 6 times. Okay? This is our lives, and this is something that's why we're here. That's why we're coming to talk about this. I would really, really love to find a peaceful solution that means that people stop dying. I would love that. But at the same time, I need to make sure that I'm representing my students, the Jewish students on this campus who feel scared. And I actually just very, very briefly want to touch upon when you said the Marxist society, because I think that there is room to criticize Israel. I'm someone who's criticized the Israeli government many, many times in my past. But I do want to say that when that goes into anti-Semitism, and when that calls for incitement of violence against Jewish students and against Jewish people, that can't be acceptable. And that's when that line has to be drawn. And I don't have time to go into the details of that because of timings, but I think that's something that really needs to be raised, and that's why we're here to say about this, because this affects our lives, this affects us as students, and we need to be protected when we're in university.
Okay. Due to timing and because we will be out of quoracy at 8 o'clock on the dot, doesn't mean we can't count, but it means that we want to get the votes in so that this doesn't hang over to the next union council, as this was an emergency union council, and we will take one more speech for and one more speech against. Hands down, please. Sorry, I sound like a bingo caller then. Is there any speeches for the motion? I see that hand there.
I would love to know a source for...
Oh, I'm really sorry to interrupt you. Can you say your name first,
Oh,
and then I'll start the timer after the name. Thank you.
Sorry. I would love to know your source, just a quick question to the last speaker, of what's the list called again? BDS. I get my acronyms confused. Of the correlation between the BDS and the increase in anti-Semitism on campuses. Do you have one? Sorry.
I was provided that by the Union of Jewish Students, and I can get that back to you when you do.
Okay. Thank you.
I would also like to say that we should all support Palestine, because we cannot stand by and watch our own government support a genocide that is so clearly wrong. We watch, I don't know about everyone else's Instagram feeds, but mine are full of people dying every day. And I'm sick of seeing it. And this is one step. It's not going to solve every single problem. It's not going to magically create a beautiful solution that creates peace within Palestine and Israel. But it's a step we can take right here, right now. And one step can start us on a path that will take us down a journey that will get us to peace as a worldwide community. So we should come together. We should not be dividing ourselves along the lines of religion. We should keep going forwards, because we can all live together. We can all live, we can have peace. We just need to be grown-ups about it. Thank you.
Okay, we will now take, due to timing, I will allow one more 2-minute speech against, and then 1 minute for, 1 minute against, and then we finish, okay? So who wants to take the speech against the motion? Final call for speech against the motion. I see that over there. Please state your name again, even though you're a returning speaker. Please state your name.
One second. Let me just. I think I just wanted to pick up on the point, another point, which was about freedom of speech on campus, because I think this is really important. I don't think that anyone wants to have a situation where they feel like, and they have students calling for murder of their people on campus. And that is what has happened, and that is why they very obviously been suspended. I can tell you that, and I'll happily, just give me a second. Calling to globalise an intifada is a call against violence against Jewish civilians. The intifada was what was called periods of intense acts of terrorism and indiscriminate violence against civilians by terrorist groups, both between 1987 and 1990 and 2000 and 2005, according to the UN's Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. During the second intifada, around 1,602 Israelis were killed. 78% of those were civilians, mostly in things like bus bombings, going into shops with bombs. Calling to globalise that intifada is not something that anyone can say lightly, because what you are calling for is murder of civilians in this country, and that cannot be allowed. And I think that the university has a right to make sure that anything that is calling to violence should not be allowed to happen on campus. That's that simple. And I just want to pick up on something about kosher food. I didn't realise that it's only people who are really experts on kosher supply chains. But I sort of want to say that there is very, very little kosher food, in fact, all over the world. You basically have very, very little here in this, even in this city. And it is practically impossible to cook in kosher food if you are not sourcing from abroad, majority of that coming from Israel, because frankly there aren't enough people creating that food. So it would not be possible to have kosher food upstairs, and it would not be possible for that expansion to continue. So people like me who eat kosher food would not be able to eat on campus as a result of this motion. So yeah.
We will now take one final 1 minute speech for and against, and I will automatically give that to the motion seconder for that final 1 minute, okay?
Yeah, so I'd just like to clear up some misinformation that's going around that, about the Marxists' statement, which was Intifada until victory. Intifada is not calling for murder of all Jewish civilians. The first Intifada was a mass uprising of Palestinians against Israeli occupation. This was through boycotts, strikes, and other forms of civil disobedience. We are essentially calling for Palestine to continue to resist Israeli occupation. We're not calling for the deaths of anybody, or like the deaths of civilians, like that's, or the deaths of an entire group of people. Like that's Israel. That's what Israel are calling for. Israel are openly calling for the genocide of all the people who are living in Gaza. And I honestly don't know why this motion is so controversial. Like, this motion is not an attack on Jewish students. This motion is asking the SU to stand in solidarity with its Palestinian students. And I ask you, like, how are Palestinian students supposed to feel comfortable on campus when campus, that is taking money from companies who are directly supporting Israel? And the SU and the university are offering no direct support to Palestinian students. Students who are speaking on behalf of Palestinian students and support them are being silenced like this right now.
Thank you. We will now take one final 1 minute speech against, and then we will hand out ballots. I know people need to go, thank you very much. And we will hand out ballots straight away. So, who wants to take the final 60-second against? Yeah, we'll take it at the back. Please state your name. If we can start handing out ballots as well, that'd be really handy. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Meg. Just to clarify, I fully support the ideals behind this motion. I can just see that there is clearly people that are going to be uncomfortable, and I think this is a very important motion that needs to be passed in a way that's comfortable for all students. And I think if that can be done through working together to propose a different motion, that might not be a bad idea, because I don't want any students to have to feel like they are being isolated or struggling through this motion. As you say, cool, thank you. It's not fair that Palestinian students feel uncomfortable on campus at all, and it's not fair that a motion be passed that made Jewish students feel uncomfortable. So if it's the case that this needs to be passed another time, maybe when you've worked together on a motion, or needs to be ratified, that might be a better idea. I don't know. I just don't want any students to feel like they don't have a place on this campus. And if that's what's happening, maybe it's not the best idea, or maybe it needs to be worked on more. I'm just speaking on this from a point of view of someone that's not personally involved in it. Yeah. So.
Okay, that is the end of the debate. Panelists, you'll be marking. You have 3 options on your ballot. If you want the motion to pass, so you want this to happen, mark yes. If you don't want it to happen, mark no. If you want wider student consultation, or you're not sure, so you want to have a referendum on this, vote abstain. So yes to happen, no to not happen, abstain for referendum. I will state for people as well, if you do need a mental health first aid or anything due to the debates that came up today, most people in the lanyard are directly a mental health first aider. We do have private rooms if you need to go to those. We will be announcing the result of this after the count. Panelists, thank you very much for going through this 2 hours. Please make sure you've handed in your ballot to that person. We will send you an email in the next few days about how you get paid and how you get your £40. It is actually money, it is not a voucher, it is money that goes into your account. So please keep an eye out on your student emails over the next few days, and you'll get paid in the new year. Has every panelist... Sorry, excuse me, can everyone keep the sound down while I'm talking to panelists, please? Thank you. Has everyone handed in their ballot? Yeah. Perfect. Can we just quickly count that there's 16? Perfect, thank you. Once we know there's 16, I will release you. But thank you very much for coming along. If there are any kind of well-being or welfare concerns, please grab one of our SU staff members. Most of them are mental health first aid trained. As we know that we've had nearly a 2-hour-long debate on this. Thank you very much, panelists. You're more than welcome to go. Observers, you're more than welcome to go, but if you want to stay to hear the result of this, you are able to stay, and we will announce it afterwards. Please do grab someone in an SU t-shirt or a lanyard as soon as you can. Thank you. Quiet on council floor, please. Quiet on council floor. Floor? Can you message me? Oh, perfect, thank you. With motions, they need 2/3 yes to pass, or 2/3 no to fall or fail. Anything in between goes to referendum. So the quoracy of 16 panelists is 11. So it needs 11 yeses to pass or 11 no's to pass, okay? Yes votes, there were 8. Abstain votes, there were 5. No votes, there were 3. The motion will go to referendum. If you have any questions about any processes or anything with democracy, please come and see myself at the front. Any other questions or anything, please let us know. Panelists, thank you very much. Thank you for coming.